Currently, over 61% of the contiguous United States are experiencing drought. Over 59% of my state, Utah, is experiencing severe drought right now. So even though it's not fun or sexy or exciting, we should probably talk about 11 ways to save water in your garden. Welcome back, casual gardeners. The first 5 things we're going to talk about are lawn related, so it's time for a change of scenery. We use most of our landscape water to maintain our lawns. I'm not going to tell you to get rid of your lawn because it's too late, that's expensive, and the drought is upon us. So let's talk about ways you can spend less water while still having a lawn. Number 1, use Waterwise turf. Kentucky bluegrass, it looks good. It feels nice on your feet. Also, it sucks. Spring is the perfect time right now to overseed your lawn with fresh lawn seed. So while you're picking out your seed to overseed with, use something more drought tolerant. Bermuda grasses and fescues tend to have higher heat and drought tolerance than bluegrass. It's just a fact of life. You can also overseed with lawn alternatives. For example, this spring, instead of overseeding with grass, I overseeded with microclover. The idea behind that is that microclover takes less water than a lot of lawns, and also it's going to contribute nitrogen to the soil. Being a legume, I'm going to be fertilizing less, so I can save money on water and fertilizer. Which turf grasses are best for your region are going to vary depending on where you are and what your climate's like. So check with your local extension services at your agricultural college, and they will tell you which turf grasses are in fact best for you. Number 2, water your lawn less frequently. Most people who have lawns water their lawns too often. I have neighbors who will water their lawn every day in the summer. The most frequently I water my lawn is 3 times a week. And on that schedule, because I start it early in the year and my lawn is used to it, it will actually stay green. I am using less than half as much water as my neighbors who are watering daily and getting the same visual effect. If you water your lawn too frequently, all you're really doing is encouraging shallow roots. The roots are going to stay close to the surface, so when you do get that legal order to stop watering entirely, your lawn's just going to go, eh. It won't be able to deal with it. But if you're watering less often, your lawn might actually survive. And then if the drought's over next year, fingers crossed, I highly doubt it, but if it is, you'll still have a lawn. And your neighbors, you can laugh at them if you want to. That's mean, but you do you. Number 3, get a smart timer. If you're a hose irrigator, you can connect your hose to a smart timer. I have an automated sprinkler system, so that already includes a timer. I did switch to a smart timer. Smart timers have the added benefit of knowing what the weather is so they don't turn on if it's already raining. I know for a fact that during a drought, if people see you watering in the rain, they will judge you, and you deserve it. The best time to water your lawn is in the morning. The second best time is in the evening. Of course, the worst time is in the heat of the day. If you have a timer, you can actually do that. You don't have to get up at the crack of dawn to water your lawn. Number 4, adjust your mowing height. A lot of people think that it looks better to have a super short lawn, super short, super even, and I can see that, but it is an aesthetic choice. There's no objective reason you can't grow your lawn a little bit longer. Growing your lawn longer means that you've got more blades of grass shading the soil. You're also creating a thicker pocket of still air over the soil. Your grass is its own mulch. Longer grass will have cooler roots and will have less evaporation, and you will need less water to maintain that grass. As an added bonus, when your lawn is longer and shading the soil more efficiently, any dandelion seeds or other weed seeds that land on the surface are more likely to be suppressed by that shade, and you won't have to weed and feed as often or apply broadleaf herbicides to your lawn, which will evaporate in the summer heat and kill your garden. It's gross. It's no fun. Don't do it. And number 5, I'm not saying destroy your lawn, but whenever possible, reduce your lawn. Every little bit of lawn you remove is area that you don't have to water like a lawn. Did you know that a pond is more water efficient than a lawn? If you were to remove your lawn from an area and dig a hole and fill that hole with water, you would use less water over the course of a summer than if it were lawn. You know those triangles between driveways and walkways? So you got the driveway coming up and then the walkway going off, and then there's this triangle there. You know how people fill that with lawn? Why? You have natural borders around that thing. You could have the most banging flower garden in that triangle, but you've got lawn? Come on now. Okay, you know that strip between your sidewalk and your road, the park strip? Do you know how difficult it is to efficiently water a park strip if it's lawn? Yeah, it's horrible. Park strips waste disproportionate amounts of water compared to the amount of lawn that you're watering. If you can pull out your park strip and slap in something drought tolerant and, oh gosh, even attractive. I know in many cities here in Utah, if you want to flip your strip, if you want to replace the lawn in your park strip with something that's not lawn, you'll often even get reimbursed for doing so, especially if there's a drought, and there is. All right, these next ones are all about gardens, so we should probably go back there. Garden beds are just automatically more efficient than a lawn, but we can still improve the efficiency in our garden beds. Number 1, get a smart timer. Wow, I am so sold on smart timers. Did you know you can actually install a smart timer on your irrigation system for your garden beds? If you're manually watering, of course, that's not an option, but why are you manually watering? The best times to water your garden on a timer just happen to coincide with the best times to water a lawn. Early morning is the best, because that way you are doing less to encourage slugs and snails in your garden. Slugs and snails rely on moist conditions to crawl around and do their mayhem. The second best time is, again, nighttime. This does conserve water and gives that water time to soak down into the soil instead of evaporating, but you are also going to be encouraging your slugs and snails. The worst time is during the day, which is typically when you'll be watering if you're manually watering. So get a timer, man. What is up? Number 2, water at ground level, and a drip irrigation system is the best way to do it. Water on the leaves of your plants isn't water that's making its way down into the roots where the plants really need to take it up, right? It's just gonna sit there on the leaves. It's not gonna act like tiny magnifying glasses and burn your leaves. That is mostly false. But it's also just going to evaporate without being taken up by your plant. You can support bacteria and fungi on the leaves that are then more likely to be able to penetrate into the leaves and make your plant sick. Whereas watering at the soil level isn't gonna cause those problems. The best way to water at the soil level is with a drip irrigation system or a soaker hose. When you're drip irrigating, the water is going to penetrate more deeply into the soil. That deep water penetration is going to encourage the roots to quest deeper after the water, and those deep roots will be more drought tolerant and require less frequent watering. Number 3, apply mulch to your garden beds. Any mulch is better than no mulch. All mulches will reduce evaporation from the soil and thus reduce the amount of water that you need to apply to your soil. If you choose to use an organic mulch, you get a knock-on benefit. Those organic mulches, leaves, straw, wood chips, whatever, those are going to, compost, those are going to break down over time and enter your soil as organic matter. Organic matter in your soil, well, we're going to talk about that on its own, but it's good. It's good. You need to replace the organic matter in your soil. You can use an inorganic mulch, and inorganic mulches do allow you to have more control over how reflective your mulch is, so you can use your inorganic mulch to heat up or cool off your soil more efficiently. But organic mulches do a really good job and have additional benefits, as well as supporting just healthy soil life, which I love. Also, organic mulch comes with no microplastics, which I don't like them very much. Number 4, incorporate organic matter into your soil. Critters in your soil are eating organic matter all the time, whether they're bacteria or fungi or your actual garden plants. They're eating the organic material and they're pooping it out as carbon dioxide, which goes into the atmosphere and is lost. This is called mineralization. When mineralization happens, the only way to get more organic material in there is to add it. Adding organic material to your soil increases its holding capacity for water. And the more your soil can hold water, the less you have to add water. Now, I have clay soil, so it's a little bit different. My soil is already naturally supercharged for holding on to water. In my case, I need to reduce compaction, and organic matter does that for me. It'll also make larger little reservoirs for the water to build up in. Either way, no matter what soil type you have, you need to add organic matter, and it will also help conserve water. Number 5, group plants with similar water needs. This is going to apply to not just your garden beds, but also any other garden zones you have in your yard. You can have low water zones where you concentrate on just planting drought-tolerant plants like the fire chalice I need to plant out. This allows you to more efficiently design your drip irrigation system and your timing zones and give your plants the water they need without blowing the budget on water. A garden bed like this with nothing but leafy greens, I'm going to be burning a lot of water. My peach tree that I just planted in a previous video, that's going to require a fair bit of water, but much less frequently, and it needs to penetrate a lot deeper. So that's going to be its own separate zone that I'm going to water quite differently from this bed. And number 6, keep your beds weeded. Technically, weeds are going to shelter the soil just as much as your intentional plantings do, but weeds also do a thing called transpiration, where they're taking up water from the soil and giving it off into the atmosphere, and that helps drive their circulatory system and their photosynthesis. Every plant transpires. If you've got a plant transpiring in your garden that you're not getting any benefit out of, you might as well remove that plant. Weeds compete with our plants for nutrients and water, and luckily some of my other advice I already gave will help suppress weeds, such as mulching and drip irrigation. So what is your favorite method for saving water in your garden? Let me know down in the comments. Your comments will let the algorithm know that you are watching and enjoying this video, and watching and enjoying this video, well, that's what it's for. If you enjoyed the video, also do the thing where you hit the like button. And if you'd like to see more videos like this one, hit the subscribe button, because I just won't shut up. Thank you so much for joining me here in my garden and there on my lawn in front of the chickens. And I hope you have a wonderful time in your own garden.